Looking for an easy, low-budget way to upgrade your shower and leave it looking brand new? I completely transformed the look and feel of my shower for less than $50. I did this by using a cool product called Henry Feather Finish. This material makes it possible to produce a concrete finish on almost any surface at a fraction of the cost and weight of real concrete. Since this product bonds well to almost any surface, there's no need for a primer, but you will need to clean the tile really well. So start by removing all the silicone from the walls and any corners, anywhere that you have it in your shower. And then you'll want to scrub the tile with Crud Cutter Degreaser. This feather finish material is pretty easy to work with, but there are a few tricks to it. Since this stuff dries really fast, I like to mix it up in small batches. It's a 2-to-1 ratio, but I like to add just a little bit more water than it says. This is about the consistency that I like. Here's a look at the first layer going on. My main goal of this layer was to fill in all the grout lines. This layer took the longest to dry, but each layer after that started to dry faster and faster. I also like to trowel it on nice and thin, applying it as smooth as I can, which saves a lot of time from sanding later on. I chose not to remove the shower trim because I don't plan on changing out the faucet. But if you are planning to change it out, then you'll want to remove this before adding the cement. You may have noticed that I didn't tape around the edges. That's because I learned the hard way that the tape gets stuck once the cement dries. I ended up having to use a razor blade to cut it out, and it took forever. So instead, I just use a wet cloth to wipe away any cement that gets in places I don't want it. Here's a look at the shower with the first coat finished. I'll let this dry completely before I add on the second coat. I won't need to sand everything down until I finish all the layers. I've tried sanding between each layer, but it really isn't necessary, especially if you're going to make sure each layer is nice and smooth. I was hoping I could get away with only doing 3 layers of cement, but the grout lines still were showing through, and I wanted it to look solid and smooth. So I added 2 more layers on, making it 5 layers of cement, and that did the trick. Now it's time to sand all the rough spots and smooth out any of the ridges. I'm using an orbital sander, a Dremel sander, and a sanding block to get this cement shower nice and smooth, each with 120 grit sandpaper. Anything lower than 120 grit will be a little too aggressive. You definitely don't want to sand off all your hard work. For this, I wore a mask and safety earmuffs just for protection against all the dust and the noise, and I'm really glad that I had that on. Okay, so here's an example of sanding too much off. I didn't see this until I rolled on a layer of sealer, but no worries at all. It was easy to patch. Since this product bonds to everything, I didn't need to sand off the sealer. I just layered right on top of it, and once it was dry, I sanded it smooth, and it was fixed. You won't be able to hide from all the dust. It gets everywhere, but it's not too hard to clean up. I just vacuumed up all the loose dust and then wiped the shower down with a damp cloth. There's so many different sealers out there for concrete. I just happened to have this one on hand from another project, so I used it, and it worked really well. Here's a look at the shower in all the drying stages. Over here is the cement without the sealer. And right here is the first coat of sealer, and it's just about almost dry. And then over here is the first coat when it's wet. So you can see there's a big difference in the coloring, but it will look great when it's all dry. I'm rolling on coat after coat of the sealer, just making sure all the edges are covered and all the lines are smooth. I wasn't sure about how many coats I would need, but I just kept adding them one after another until the cement stopped soaking it in. I ended up rolling on a good 8 to 10 layers, which sounds like a lot, but it really didn't take that long to do. There's little pinholes that are there, and the water can soak into it. So layer the sealer and get as much on as you can. because I know you're curious, here's a look at the shower when the water is on. And this is what it looks like after the water has been sitting on it for a while. There's a few spots that went dark, but I just rolled over them with the sealer a few more times, and that did the trick. So now the water just beads up and stays on the surface, and it works great. Here's a quick shot of what it looked like before and now the after. It's almost hard to believe that this is the same shower. So I actually redid this shower a little over a year ago, and it has held up so good. It's not cracking, it doesn't grow mildew, I can clean it really easy, and I am just so glad that I decided to do this to my shower. I think it just gives my bathroom a whole new look, and I love how it turned out.